Well, how you going? My name's Andrew. I suppose you class me as a very lucky person. I'll start my story off probably one way. I decided to go fishing last Saturday out the front of my place down in Bruny Island, and it's not uncommon for me to go for a bit of a fish on my own and whatnot, and there's some tuna around, so I decided go out and just go and have a little bit of a tuna fish, which is pretty easy for us down there. Jumped in my boat, went out. It's not uncommon for me to not have a PFD on. I've always got to have a PFD on just because I'm around boats pretty much every day of my life. Had a stormy season, went out, go for tuna fish, found where they were, put the rod in the water, started trawling along. Wasn't too long before hooked up. Just the way I was standing on my boat, I've got a little centre console boat of tinny of sort. Hooked up, just went to grab my throttle and accidentally knocked it forward, which made the boat take off, and I pretty much rolled out the back of my boat. Lucky for me, I had my stormy seas on, which was really good, because before I knew about it, it had inflated, and I was, and that was an alarm in itself for myself. Here we are, I'm stuck out in the water and pretty much watching my boat go away. Silly enough, I didn't have my lanyard on, which would have been a totally different outcome if I'd had my lanyard on, which I didn't. To basically get to the gist of the story, that was about 3 kilometres out at sea off Bruny Island there, out in Stormy Bay, and it took me about 2.5 hours to swim to shore, which I was very lucky, and I really don't think I'll probably be here sitting in front of this camera at this stage without, if I didn't have a stormy season, which I cannot rave about enough, because it did actually save my life. Kept me warm, kept me afloat, gave me a chance to, in between swimming, to be able to roll over and just kind of get myself together and have a rest, things like that. Which enabled me then to, get to shore, and I'm here and I'm safe, which is a good thing. It was a very silly mistake on my behalf. Again, I've been around boats all my life, and I just didn't have that lanyard attached. If I did, even if I had friends on board, something like that, even if I had someone on board and they didn't know how to drive a boat, it could have been different. I could have been knocked out when I fell off the back of the boat, but because my Stormy Seas is an auto-inflating one, as soon as I hit the water, it inflated, and I was able to not sink, which is a really, really good thing. They're an amazing jacket. They fit really well. They kept me warm. They're all lined inside. I can't rave about it enough. I did. It was actually a relatively warm day. Admittedly, quite a calm day for us down at Adventure Bay. It's probably about 1 to 2 metre seas, but very glassy, so there wasn't a lot of wind around. It was a beautiful day. Where I was fishing at the time too is very easy for me to get to. If I had to go out around, which is a little place down here in Adventure Bay in Bruny Island called Penguin Island, if I had to go around the back of that, which is what we normally do to go tuna fishing or go down towards the Fries, there is no way that I would have been down there out in my boat on my own. But because of where they were and the tuna are nice and close, it was very easy for me to be able to access where they were. So again, if I was going out further, I would have had someone with me, which might have been a bit of a different thing. Could have even had my daughter with me, coming out with me, and she doesn't know how to drive a boat, so without having my lanyard on, the boat could have taken off with her in it, doing 30 k's, doing big massive laps and circles, and she wouldn't have known what to do really, so that could have been even scarier in itself for my other half. But on the day, it's been a nice day. I did have, just had tracksuit pants on, just my basic fishing gear, don't want your dirty clothes, going tuning, there's always a bit of tuna stuff around, a bit of blood and a bit of bait and things like that. Having tracksuits on, had a similar t-shirt to this, just a bit of a long sleeve on, and my Stormy jacket on, didn't have a jumper or anything like that. When I hit the water, I basically started to swim and realised my shoes aren't going to do anything for me, so I kicked them off. Kept swimming along, realised that my trackies were sort of hindering me a little bit in what I was doing, so I pulled them right up to I sort of went into a little bit of survival mode where I'm trying to keep as much heat. I didn't feel the cold as much. I've been surfing all my life, so to me the water temperature was kind of fine. I'm kind of used to that anyway. But I did roll all my tracksuit pants and pull them right up really close to me, so I'm trying to keep all the heat as much as I could close to my core. I was able to grab my Stormy Seas and tighten it right up around my waist and tuck all my clothes into my tracksuit pants and sort of make sure that was all tightened right up. And they've got a buckle or a belt that goes across your chest. I was able to tighten that right up and keep it all nice and really tight and sort of lock myself in. These are like a lined as well. They've got some sort of lining in them that actually keeps you quite warm. So that retained all my heat and sort of in with me there. Yeah, and then just made my way to shore, which took a long time. A long time. Yeah, when you're in the water, there's no one around and you're at eye level. Yeah, everything seems a long way away, but 3 kilometres is what I measured it at off a little Navionics program I've got, and yeah, it's a long way to be. But definitely kept me warm, definitely.
How did you go about swimming? How did you?
Swimming, yeah, that was an interesting one itself. If you can imagine you can't really do freestyle or backstroke. One, because I sort of a little bit hindered because you're all inflated in the jacket itself, but two, I didn't want to do too much splashing where I was at the time, so it was more kind of like on my back, doing sort of like a breaststroke sort of action, but on my back, and I could actually hang on and use my legs for a bit and just sort of hang on and compose myself and get get some breath back and just calm myself down and put myself into that motion. And then I'd roll over onto my stomach and do breaststroke, which, imagine trying to do breaststroke and trying to push a floating buoy of water. You know, a floating buoy through the water. You sort of like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. You're not swimming freely, but you are making a bit of ground. In doing that, I had to kind of do a little bit of a style of breaststroke where I could sort of break the water in front of me, so it allowed me to get some air, because every time I was sort of swimming, it'd sort of splash up a little bit, and I was breathing in a bit of water. So that was, but that was kind of an easier thing to do. Admittedly, I'm a reasonably strong swimmer, probably not the fittest of blokes, but I do surf quite regularly. So it was hard, but you don't sort of think of those things at the time. You just kind of, I wanted to get from A to B, and that was all I wanted to do. So
there's. Did you have a landmark that you aimed for? How did you?
Yeah.
Did you work?
Yeah, I did have I mean, there's so many things that could have happened on the day that could have, but didn't. Touch wood. I had a flooding tide, so the tide was more than halfway in, but it was still coming. It was actually very high tide on the day. As I was swimming in, I was looking at the neck that divides North and South Bruny. I could see the beach, but again, it was quite far away. So every time I'd sort of roll onto my back, I'd sort of do a bit, and every time I roll onto the front, I could just notice it is getting a little bit closer. So I knew I was making way. I could line up these 2 trees that are down there on the beach. I could actually line them up, and I noticed that the tide was actually pulling me a little bit north and sort of pushing me sort of up north. So I just sort of changed my tactic. Instead of coming straight into the neck beach, I kind of aimed a little bit up the beach to sort of come with it, and I did notice the trees started to pick up. I did start to make it a little bit more ground, a little bit quicker. Had the tide been going the other way, it would have been a different story, or different winds, things like that. But yeah, I managed to be able to just sort of use those marks to push me up, and I did notice I was making ground, which was a good thing.
Every 12 months.
Every 12 months, yeah. That'd be awesome, yeah. I see some guys going around, some fishermen going around. You can see their old Stormy jackets, and they're that old, you know, that, you know, yeah. Servicing your jackets, one thing. I mean, I do it. Admittedly, I actually do that sort of, you know, every couple of years, but you know, every 12 months would be a good one. Just at least have a look, make sure that your little bottle in there is all good, all your mechanisms, no corrosion, everything's ready to go. Have a look at your dates and your cereals. If they need to be replaced, just do it. It's a small price to pay. That water activation one as well, it's got a date on it. It tells you, you know, when it should be done. It's just a small price to pay to saving your life. You know, mine worked perfectly. Before I even knew that I was in the water, the thing had gone off. Whether or not it's how I landed and the water got pushed into the unit or whatnot, but it was up before I even knew what was going on. So very important. Make sure you know. I know I'm sounding like a spokesperson for Stormy Seas now, but why not? You know, why not? Since then, I've decided to purchase a PLB, which is a personal locating beacon, which I now keep in my other pocket. Because one thing I did find out when I was in the water is when you're in the water, you've got what you've got on you. That's it. There's no, oh hang on, I'll just grab this or that. You've got what you've got on you. This thing inflated on its own, it's got whistles and things like that, but I had no way of contacting anybody. I'd actually left my phone in underneath the console of my boat, so I didn't have my phone on me. I had no other radios or anything on me. So I basically had, my plan at the time was just to swim to shore. There was no plan B, there was only plan A. If I'd had a personal locating beacon, I could have alerted people, and it would have made it's a nice little new little unit that I'm not going to use again, or have to use. But very simple little unit, and I now keep that in my opposite pocket, as well as I will be carrying my phone in the future as well. But yeah, that's now going to stay in my Stormy with me the whole time, just for that simple reason. If I ever touch wood, it's not going to happen again. But if it was ever to happen again, or something was to happen like that, at least I've got a way of contacting someone and letting them know where I am, and the rescue or the search can begin a little bit quicker than what it did. Best thing about it as well is it doesn't have to be on the water. I can actually take it walking, camping, hiking, things like that. If I'm just going even kayaking up a river or somewhere, up the snow, anywhere, it's a personal locating beacon. It just lets people know where you are. So that's a really, really good thing for me. Yeah, if I was to do the exact same thing again, I mean, I like fishing alone. I like my own company, and I do a lot of fishing on my own. I'm sure a lot of other people do. Since then, I've sort of, I've had a few people sort of go, oh, you know, how'd you do that? You know, how'd you fall out the back of your boat? It was just a simple mistake on my part, of accidentally knocking the throttle. If I'd had my lanyard on, of all things, that silly little cord that annoys you, that no one wears. I can't remember a time that I've been on any of my boats with mates of mine going fishing and they've used theirs. I've talked to a million other people who've said, no, they never use their lanyard. It's a simple little thing. If I'd had that on, it would have been a different story. The motor would have just shut out. I could have just swum 2-3 metres to the boat, jumped back on, pulled the tuna in, come home and had a laugh about it. But since then, yeah, that lanyard's going to be religious with me. It's something I'll be clipping on. I've even actually got a different clip for it now, so it really fits my jeans properly. Or I've actually got another strap now that I can actually put around any clothes that I've got at the time, and it's just going to be a nice little easy clip to clip onto myself. That's one thing I'd definitely use. Always, I mean, it's really a no-brainer in itself, but I always when with PFD, whether or not it's actually this one or a yoke, a Stormy Seas yoke that I use as well, which is more of on a really hot day. I'll use that one, which is just as good. Definitely use my PFD, my lanyard, and fortunate enough for me as well, I did actually tell someone where I was going and what I was doing. I said, I'm going out there, I'm just going to be out there having a bit of a fish, I'll be back about 2 o'clock sort of thing. So yeah, so letting people know where you're going, what you're doing, estimated time of, when you're going to be back, just things like that. But yeah, definitely. Now that that's happened to me, and it's opened my eyes to just how quickly something like that can happen. That PLB is not moving out of that pocket. I'll probably end up getting another one, I reckon, to just do other things, but that one's pretty much just going to stay in my PFD constantly with me. Yeah, I'm a very lucky person. It could have gone either way or either way. I landed at the time right on top of a bait ball of tuna. It's kind of interesting when you're lying 3 kilometres out to sea and you've got tuna jumping over your legs and right next to you, and birds dive bombing in right in front of you. And I didn't really want to think of anything else that might have been around at the time. You are very lonely out there. And it's just a long swim that I had to do. Lucky I was able to swim. So yeah, but definitely Stormy Seas, you pay for what you get. It's a very, very small price to pay for what it's going to do for you. It's an amazing product. It no doubt saved my life, definitely. I wouldn't hesitate to get another one. I'm going to fit my whole family out in them. Yeah, don't be silly. Go off and find some other one that might look the same. or anything like that, go with Stormy Seas. Local Tassie company, amazing people, amazing family. They've done a fantastic job and they've saved my life. So I can't recommend them highly enough. I've even got my hat on today.